What's going on, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about G-body brakes and how to make them stop better on the cheap. So what's going on, guys? Today we're going to talk about brakes because I had a couple people ask me about this. Now, this is something that you can kind of find on a lot of the forums and stuff like that, but it's a way cheaper option to help the G-bodies stop than going wheelwood or aerospace or anything like that. You start getting into those companies, they're real expensive, which is, they probably are better, yes, but if you're just trying to do a cruiser or basic cheap upgrades, it's not really the way to go. I mean, it's too much for me to want to spend. Maybe one day I will, but right now that's just not in the budget. So I've got two different things here. This is the original spindle and rotor setup off the Malibu, actually, but it's the same as the Monties, El Caminos, Regals, Cutlass. All of them are the same. And this is off of a 2000 two-wheel drive Blazer. Now, with that being said, this is definitely the cheaper option for making it stop than any of those other ones. And we'll show you why it's so much better here in just a second. But first, I'm going to show you why this one only stops okay. I mean, they do okay, and I've changed brake pads and rotors and everything for factory, and it did okay, but it still wasn't great. And the good thing about the Blazer setup is not only can you run it in the front, you can run it in the back. So if you have to go to a parts store and try to find something, you can find it for that specific vehicle, front and rear, and not have to sit there and order something really. If one parts store don't have it, another one probably will. And that's why I kind of try to do that. I like to keep things simple and easy to find parts. I don't like trying to struggle to find parts or having to order them in, wait days, and it's just a pain in the butt. So if you look here, you got your basic single caliper. It's only got one piston in it. And you can tell, I mean, the one piston it's big, but it's not going to displace the pressure as good as this one. And the reason being is because this one has a dual piston in it. The dual piston is definitely night and day difference. If you haven't done this yet or haven't talked to somebody that's done this, this is totally different than the factory. I mean, we did some testing on it before I started doing all this, and this was amazing. The 86 turbo car, this is what's on it. I did it pretty simple. One thing I am going to end up doing this year is we're going to take the ones off the 86. I'm going to go ahead and put drilled and slotted rotors and a better set of racing pads on it to help it a little more. Trying to stop that car from a full pull. It has turned the rotors black from overheating. But it definitely still stops better than this ever will. Now, one thing you'll notice is the spindles look kind of similar, and the reason being is because they are similar. They're almost identical. The only big difference is the way that this caliper bracket mounts versus the way this caliper bracket mounts. But you can literally take this whole spindle off of a Blazer. Spindle, brake line, you'll probably have to take that bracket off. And actually we'll get into the sensor here in a minute and another reason why this is so great, but you can take this whole spindle off and sit it right on your ball joints on your Monte Carlo, Cutlass, G-body in general, and it'll bolt right up, and all you have to do is rebleed your brakes. So by the time you sit here and fight packing this bearing that's in here from the original, buying new bearings, buying rotors, buying pads, it's not worth it to me. You can go to the junkyard and get this whole set up. I kind of looked it up online. Depending on what junkyard I went to, I could yank the whole spindle for about $55 to $65 a side. So you might have $100-something in it. Just try to find one maybe with good pads, or I mean, you do have to worry about the calipers being locked up, but you know, you can go get a caliper. luckily, when you get a caliper from certain places, you can get the caliper, the bracket, and all as one unit, which makes it great because these brackets do break every now and then. But I'm gonna go ahead and shove this to the factory one to the side and show you the big upgrade for the Blazer one. Sorry about that. So, one big upgrade to the Blazer is it is a bolt-in bearing, hub style bearing, which I'm a huge fan of. It's way simpler. I don't have to pack the bearings. I really don't have to do anything. You just bolt it in, make sure they're Loctited, because they do need Loctite, and so do the caliper bracket bolts. That's a story for a different day, but you can bolt the bearing in. You don't have to pack it. It is awesome. It has a wheel speed sensor on it. Now, as you can tell, I cut it, and I cut it because on the 86 we're not using the wheel speed sensors, but that's what we're going to kind of talk about right now. On this new Malibu, when Steve was here, we were talking about traction control, and one thing you have to have for traction control is wheel speed. One really good thing about this is it already has a wheel speed sensor in it. So we're going to end up finding a new bearing, which I'll end up replacing most of this anyway when I go to do it. But we're going to find a new bearing, put a new Moog bearing in it, and use the wheel speed sensor to help traction control for the new Malibu. And that is a huge plus to me. Something I didn't even know. He had to explain it to me when he was here. But guys, I mean, this is a super simple thing that you can do that's cheap, and it really makes a big difference on any G body. Now, this thing is all over the internet. People have been doing this for years, well before I even knew about it. Actually, my 88 still has factory brakes and it stops terrible, because I didn't know about this up until about 2 years ago. So actually, the 88 is actually going to get this upgrade also, because it's just so much better. It has its own bracket. It has its own dual piston caliper. It's just a simpler, easier setup, easier to work on, easier to find parts for too. I don't know how much cheaper it is as far as pads and stuff. I think they're about the same price, and so are rotors. But when you go to take the rotor off this, all you do is just take it off after you take your bracket off. That one, you have to take the nut off the end, repack the bearings, put seals in it. You don't have to do none of that with this. So the next thing we're going to talk about, another reason why I really like the Blazer setup, is not just the front, but it's also the rear. So in the rear end video that we were talking about, where I made the rear end stand, these are the rear brakes off of a two-wheel drive Blazer. Just like the fronts, it is a bracket. It is a basic caliper, and the parts are easy to find. Now, I will be building a bracket right there and welding it on so that it'll work with this rear end. This is the 9-inch for the Malibu, and to me, that's the best option. And the reason, sorry guys, let me adjust this. The reason it's the best option for me is because I can find all the parts. Like I said, I don't want to search for parts. This is probably the simplest setup that you can run, and it's absolutely the cheapest. The way I got most of these, the way I got the one on this car, is we were scrapping Blazers, and I just started yanking them all off every Blazer I can get my hands on. I've actually got 2 more sets coming from 2 more Blazers. Kind of like the 5.3 and the 6 liter out there. If we buy a car and I need the parts, I just go steal them off of it. I know that's not as easy for some of you guys, but you can go to any junkyard. I guarantee they have Blazers in the junkyard. Now, the one thing that's hard to find is a 2-wheel drive. From what I have seen, I'm not positive. Actually, let me look at this. No, you cannot. You have to run the 2-wheel drive. I was thinking maybe you could run the 4-wheel, but no, you can't, because of the axle, the way the axle bolts. But you have to find a 2-wheel drive, and if you find a 2-wheel drive Blazer, it has rear disc brakes. Yank the rear disc off, yank the front brakes off, bolt the front right into where your Monty was. You don't have to do anything else. The brake lines will work, everything will work, and it just stops. Night and day difference. So guys, I had a couple people ask about this. That's why I'm kind of making this video. If you have any questions, please let me know. That's the simplest way I can really put it. But guys, I appreciate it. Hit the like and subscribe button. Help me build this channel some more. If you have anything else, just let me know. If you have another brake system that maybe works a little better, let me know. But as far as I know, this is the cheapest option to make it stop better. I can't afford Willwood or Aerospace or any of those, and I'm not going to right now. So you got a G body, you want it to stop better, do this and you'll be surprised. I appreciate it, guys. Hit like and subscribe. Till next time.